All right. So we are live. We'll wait for some
All right, cool.
people to get in here. But yeah, let's wait for some people to get in here. Live viewers show up in the stream. This is the second time I've used this StreamYard thing. It seems like it's pretty sweet. So
Yeah, I've legit never been live at all. This is my first
yeah.
time. So
Oh,
I'm
there you
like,
go. Also,
yeah,
you're popping the cherry on it, are you?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, sweet. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into this right now. There's not anybody here just yet, but we'll go ahead and go into it. But all right, guys, thank you guys for being here, whether you're watching it after the fact or here we go. Now we got some people. Savvy Bill, what's up, man? Goat the Viking, BB Smith, D2, Derek. All right, we got some people flying in here. Brett, Goat the Viking, Jake, Gabriel, Kenny, what is up, man? Central Coast Climber says, "Whoa, new Jags YouTuber." Yeah, man, you know it.
Check me
So,
out.
right now, man, I brought on with me this week. I got Jaguar King. He actually started up a channel pretty recently. So, hey, man, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Let us know, man, how long you've been on YouTube and what kind of inspired you to get on the platform.
Yeah, for sure. So I started, I want to say about a month ago. Huge Jags fan, been a Jags fan since I was a kid. Like I said, I was just telling you a little bit earlier, I've been watching your channel. I've been following, a lot of the, I guess you can call yourself a local news reporter on the Jags. And I just, decided to kind of take that passion, take that enthusiasm I have for the Jags and start a channel. So I'm pretty recent, like I said, a month in, have about 10 videos. So it's been fun.
Cool, man. So a lot of you Jaguars YouTubers don't really live in Jacksonville. Are you actually living in Jacksonville right now?
No, I actually grew up in Buffalo, New York. And then after I graduated college, I actually lived in Orlando. I know you live in Orlando right now, right? UCF.
Yeah.
So I lived in Orlando for about 2 years, but right now I'm currently in DC. So I've been around, but I grew up in Buffalo, New York and wound up becoming a Jags fan.
So you became a Jags fan while living in Buffalo?
Yeah, I'm actually a refugee from Bosnia. I don't know if I know Jacksonville, Duval County has a lot of Bosnians over there. So if there's anyone on the show, what's up, guys? But yeah, so I grew up watching the Bills and Dolphins kind of rivalry. And the first Jaguars game I saw was actually when the Jaguars kicked the shit out of the Dolphins 62-7. And I was like 5 years old. I was like, this is my team. So from then on, I've just been a huge Jags fan.
Oh, there you go. Dude, that's
Yeah,
what's
for
up.
sure.
So yeah, man, guys, definitely I got his links down in the description, man. So definitely subscribe to him. Let's see if we can get him
Appreciate
at that 100 subscriber mark.
Yeah,
So
that'd be awesome. That's my goal. That's my goal. So hopefully, man.
yeah, man. But it's pretty crazy though, because when I started my channel up in 2017. My first ever video was about the Doug Marrone hiring. And
Okay.
so 2017, man, it was a lot of fun, but you're starting off in 2020.
Yeah, like
Not
the
the
worst
most
year.
ideal year for it. Yeah, dude, the worst year, but hey, man, maybe you're getting on there right during tank season.
Yeah. So maybe some of the negative and pain will cultivate us to form a little group. Yeah, I mean, 2017 feels so distant, man.
Yeah, it's I mean, hopefully it can come back. So I guess we'll just get your emotions right now, man. Like what is your thought of everything? Are you like angered by everything? Are you like heartbroken, or is this like kind of about what you expected a Jaguars team to be?
Honestly, it's bittersweet because after week one, I was like on my high horse, right? I was like, dude, we just kicked the shit out of Phillip Rivers. I hate Phillip Rivers, so I was super pumped after that. And then it kind of set me up. I'm like, hey, maybe we're a little bit better than we thought. I predicted like 6-10 before the season, but after watching these last couple weeks, my enthusiasm for our season has gone deep into the shits. So it is what I thought, but also I think the week one victory really set up a lot of my emotions to be like, hey, maybe we can do something, but they are who we thought they were for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about the same way, man. I mean, I was pretty level-headed about everything. I was like,
Yeah.
we're not, we're a tanking year. We'll probably go 4-12. But then, dude, after beating the Colts, and it was such a fun victory. Like
Yeah.
our defense didn't play well, but it still got turnovers, and Menshu and the crew were leading out there. Then we barely escaped Tennessee on a good game, but then like just the Dolphins and what was the team we played? The Dolphins and Bengals.
Right.
It was just like they're. If we want to have any push, like the early, the first half of the schedule is really like where you want to get some wins. But man, like it, if you can't beat these two teams, then honestly, like, you're not really going anywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Was like, especially after that Titans game, right? We competed with a potential AFC contender, and then the last 2 weeks have totally killed the whole vibe of the season. And yeah, it really puts into perspective how young and not as much talent as I guess, like you said, we're pretty level-headed going in, but it's been tough these last 2 weeks as a Jags fan.
So what are your, I guess, the big hot topic right now? Because obviously the Jags aren't going anywhere, and like it's more of an evaluation type of year. So like, what are your thoughts about the quarterback position? Are you kind of on the let's ride with Menshu train, or are you on the okay, let's try to get a nice pick so we can get one of these new guys?
Yeah, I'm still on the let's ride with Menshu train. I think right, he's completed 16 games, so technically only has one season under his belt. And when I look at this roster, when I look at everyone on the team and everyone we have, the quarterback position doesn't jump out to me like, oh, we need to fix this. Compared to previous years when we had like Blake Bortles and Blaine Gabbert, when you look at the roster, it was like the quarterback's the biggest issue. We need to fix the quarterback. When I look at this roster, I feel like there's so many more holes than the quarterback. So to me, I'm still riding with Menshu. I think he still can turn it around. I think he can still put some of those games together that we think he's going to be. But these last 2 weeks, he just seems to be playing with a lot less confidence. I don't know if it's because he feels the pressure of having to put up freaking 50 points a game to win, or just something, or he's kind of showing a lot of what he's going to be because there's a lot more film on him now than there was obviously last year. Yeah.
And I made a video earlier. I'm like, the great thing about Menshu is we still have 12 more games to evaluate him. So it's not like the season ends today. We got to make a decision tomorrow about what we got to do. We still have a lot of time to evaluate him. But I mean, like, I did a video about this earlier, so I don't want to beat the horse too much. But, there were some things he had to work on from last year, like pocket presence, like, hopefully his arm would get a little bit stronger. And, just seeing the field, and like he just hasn't improved in that area. And one thing about him, he's always been super confident. That's been a thing that we could always rely on. But he hasn't been playing with that much. Last couple of games, like it just doesn't seem like he's the same guy. And the thing is, like quarterback, like Gardner Minshew is probably one of the least of the Jaguars' problems. Obviously, the defense is the biggest thing. Right. But I don't want to like keep handicapping the spot. I don't want to be like, oh, the quarterback, that's all right. Let's just fix everything else and then we'll be good because, it's like in 2017, like, everything on the roster was great except for the quarterback. But, when rosters turn over, it's, at the quarterback position, like that's the one position that's not really going to turn over. So you definitely want to have that solidified. So, I like Gardner, but, I don't know how many times, especially because I do think that the Jaguars, there's a young roster and we're going to get a lot better next year. Like, I think that the Jaguars could push for a playoff spot next year. So I don't know when the next time we're going to be in a top 5 position to draft a guy. So just with his limitations, I don't know. It just sketches me out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I definitely see it. Like there's a lot of times, like you said, that I think that pocket awareness looks like he's ready to leave before, the pocket even collapses. And I mean, I don't watch the all 22 film. I'm not, the head coach, but it looks like, sometimes there's players open and he's just holding onto the ball, afraid to throw it. And all the times it looks like our guys are just completely covered. So it's hard to make that evaluation on him. There's still 12 more games. But like you said, he does leave something to be desired for you to be like, hey, maybe we should get a QB. So we'll see. I love Menshu. I love his personality. And in all honesty, like if he was on the 2017 team with that defense, then we're looking at probably a Super Bowl. Just the way he's been playing so far, because Blake Bortles really handicapped us that year. So it's tough. I'm still on the Menshu train until the wheels fall off, I guess.
Yeah. And I know some people kind of in a chat are saying, it's only his second year and stuff like that. And that's true. And the thing is, if Minshu's a first round pick, obviously we probably give him more time than we do. But the thing is, man, like, I was kind of listening to one of Jaguars United video, and they kind of said that it's bad timing. And honestly, with Menshu, it is kind of bad timing because, the quarterback just in general, the position has been bad timing for us because the one time we do have the number 3 overall pick, when we draft Blake Bortles, like the other options out there were like, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, were the other first round picks. So like, Of course, later on, Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. So those guys, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, those guys are good, but they're not. I don't consider Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo super elite.
Yes.
But when the other years, like ideally, we in 2017, we should have drafted Mahomes or Watson. 2018 should have drafted Lamar Jackson, but we had the Blake Bortles thing, and then even this year, like the Jaguars, I mean, they should have they should have probably gone out and signed Cam Newton. But the thing is, our roster was not in a spot that would have been good for Cam Newton. Like if we were the 2018 Jaguars with that roster, I think it would have been a perfect time to jump on him. I know a lot of people, they give us a lot of crap because it's like, oh my God, we could have signed Cam Newton but didn't. But honestly, like Cam Newton on this roster, is that really the best time for us to get a guy like him?
Right. I think you said it right. Like the timing of when we have our quarterback, and it always seems like, oh, maybe if we could build the team around him, he'll make that next step going forward with Blake Bortles. When we had the chance to get Lamar Jackson, we got freaking Taven Bryan. I remember at that time watching that draft, I was like, I hope we just take a shot at another quarterback, and we just didn't. So it is really tough, and I think that's what makes it tough. It's like you either go on and get the guy you think is going to be, your future, or you try to stick it out and give Menshu some more time, build a better team around him. And then also next year coming in, I don't see Doug Marrone and the staff being here. So the next GM or head coach coming in, they're going to evaluate Menshu. There's no loyalty to him there. So if they don't think he's going to be the guy, I could very well see the Jaguars moving on from him. So I think it really depends on the games he puts this year and how many. If he can win with this roster, then I'm all for him, because this roster, especially the defense end, is in the tank,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I hope we can, fire everybody, fire the head coach, fire the GM. But, when I look at it, everyone, they kind of say, oh, we're going to be firing Dave Caldwell at the end of the season. It doesn't matter. But I don't know, man, because he's going out there and just acquiring draft capital, not spending any money to make this team better. So it's like, I don't think he's making all these trades just for the next GM to come in here and say it's a good job. You know what I mean? It's like, and then when you look at Doug Marrone, I think Doug Marrone's more likely to go. But, look at the roster they provided him. I mean, ideally in a normal functioning organization would have fired everybody after last year. And then the new GM could have gone in and did the things that Dave Caldwell did. It would have made me feel a lot more comfortable. And Dave Caldwell is really not that bad of a GM. He's done some good things, but at some point, kind of the things get stale. And Yannick Ngakoue, still demanded to get out of Jacksonville, even with Tom Coughlin out. So it's not an only Tom Coughlin issue, because Yannick Ngakoue gave up $6 million to go play for the Vikings. There's got to still be something within that building.
Yeah, for sure. I think you said that right. For instance, all these draft picks and draft capital he has coming in, it's almost as if he knows his job is secure. So he's ready to, bring in free agents and draft guys next year. But like you said, for instance, this year, the defensive line is awful. The secondary is not playing well at all. You would expect with all those picks, if they're trying to win this year, let's get a trade. Let's beef up the D-line. Let's bring in some reinforcements. But they're not doing that at all, as if they're planning for next year, as if they're secure in their jobs, which I don't know. And like you said, Doug Marrone, the part of me, sometimes I watch some of his press conferences, things like that. It's almost as if he knows he's done and he knows what he's got, and he's just going to ride out this year and leave. Kind of like when he left the Bills, kind of left a bad taste in a lot of the NFL's mouth, like, oh, he just kind of quit on the Bills. And I feel like this year with Jacksonville, he knows he's putting out a really bad roster. He knows he's probably not going to win a lot, but I don't think he wants to give off that image that, oh, I'm going to quit and leave the Jags too. So he's in a tough position too, but I really don't know. Like you said, Dave Caldwell hasn't been bad, but I think Jags just need a new change going into next year. And it's just not working out for them.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Doug Marrone. I mean, he doesn't necessarily, warrant a lot of great things to be fired. But the thing is, what is his real ceiling as a coach? What is he, you know what I mean? I don't you look at guys, there's Andy Reid and Sean McVay. There's guys that just, can really form to what the NFL wants you to do.
Right.
But it seems like him, like what can he actually offer when it comes to like upside? Like I just don't see it.
Yeah, other than eating bologna sandwiches every weekend.
Yeah. Bologna sandwiches, they were fun in 2017.
Right. We're sick of them now.
It's not really a topic of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. He hasn't been that innovative, that adjusting to the times. I mean, maybe you could say so by getting rid of Leonard Fournette and, moving away from that old school power scheme, and sticking with James Robinson. That was a good move, whether that was Dave Caldwell's move or, Doug Marrone's move. So you could say he's definitely, I guess trying to make changes, but like you said, his cap, I think he's kind of reached his cap. I feel like that 2017 season was really like the best you're going to get out of him. I feel like you can win with him, but he doesn't really put a team over the edge like an Andy Reid or, one of those like Bill Belichick type guys.
Yeah, and I do want to give a quick shout out to the chat, man. We got 47 people in here, man. Definitely drop your likes over here. It's Reese in the building, Washington State Jags fan Rick. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I got Jaguar King with me. He's a new Jaguars YouTuber, so if you haven't already, man, I got his links to his channel in my description box, so definitely hit him up, subscribe to his channel. But one guy Phil C pulled up a pretty good question. He says, what could we get in a trade for Menshu? That's an interesting one. I think at the very worst, probably a third-round pick. You might be able to squeeze out a second-round pick for him if you want to. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing, like a third-rounder, at most probably second-round pick right now. He's definitely playing above his draft position. So that's some, I guess, persuasive language we can throw at people. But I would say a third-round pick, second-round pick the most, especially if we only got a second-round pick for Yannick. Even though he was like on his way out, didn't want anything to do with Jacksonville, he's still a Pro Bowl player. So I would say probably a second-round pick at best for Menshu right now, the way he's playing.
Yeah, and big shout out to Steve Boston for the $4.99 donation. Really appreciate that, my man. There we go, Steve. But yeah, it's and I think the Menshu, like if you were to trade him, I wouldn't trade him during the offseason. I would probably rather wait for like maybe when the season's going on, if like a quarterback injury goes on, maybe you can go out and you can rely on Menshu to come into like a West Coast type of system and kind of run it. But with the way the NFL does, and if we draft a guy high, I hope we play him right away because I hate the quarterback waiting game. Right. You know what I mean? Like Justin Herbert, for example, goes out there and he does some good things for the Chargers, but then Anthony Lynn keeps flirting with bringing back Tyrod Taylor, who's the ultimate placeholder. Like, I don't know. It'd just be, if I get a quarterback, I'd rather just play him right away.
No, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that because at the end of the day, how much do you really learn sitting on the bench, not getting this? Because I think the hardest part for a quarterback is the speed of the game at the NFL. You have to process so much faster. So if you're constantly just on the bench watching the starter do it, you're not really getting that experience. I get it, learning the playbook and getting your feet wet doing that. But I'm a firm believer in, if you got your guy, especially if he's a first-round pick and he's ready to play, get him out there and see what you got instead of that waiting game,
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. Like, it sucks for Dolphins fans because they had to sit here and wait on Tua and see Fitzpatrick play.
Yeah, for sure. My brother is actually a Dolphins fan, and he's kind of just waiting for Tua to get in there just because the guy, like, Fitzpatrick's not going to – you already know what he is. He's just a journeyman. He's a really good backup quarterback. Unless he played Jacksonville, apparently he looks like Peyton Manning. But, yeah, so it's like it's tough. Even when we drafted Blake Bortles, Chad Henne was in front of him. We're literally just waiting for Blake Bortles to get in there because, even if he – shits the bed, it's at least better than watching Chad Henne do that or, some backup quarterback. So, yeah, I'm in for just, throwing your quarterback out there and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, Bortles came in pretty quickly. I think like third or fourth game.
Yeah, something like that.
Because Chad Henne was so bad.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so bad. So I think, he came in like the fourth game, like halfway through, like, I want to say a Colts game or something like that. And
yeah, it was a Colts game. It was like a home game, and he came in after halftime.
Yeah.
And I was at UCF at that time, so I was like, "Oh my God, he's in!" So it was like, I mean, it was a cool time when I defended him far too much on my channel. Like when Blake Bortles, when he was drafted to the Jags, I was like 19 years old. And then when I started my channel, I was like, I think like 22 or 23 years old.
Yeah.
So like I was just like ultimate fanboy. And then now I'm like, okay, let's evaluate the quarterback position a little with a little less bias.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I was a big Blake guy too when he got drafted by us. I mean, I think just with the regime change and all that, I was just pumped to see what's coming for Jacksonville. I liked him at UCF, so I was super pumped, and it went sour quick. But he's just like one of those guys, kind of like Minshew too. He's easy to root for, so you want him to be successful. And you constantly put a lot of excuses and blame other players, but a lot of it came down to him not executing. And we gave him more time than we should have, but he had at least one good year in him.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like a couple quarterbacks I see with a lot of similarities are like Blake Bortles with Sam Darnold, because dude, like they have the same exact mechanics and they look like the same as that quarterback, but Blake Bortles just got shit on by everybody, like national media, everybody. But but Darnold seems like he gets defended like crazy. It's so weird to me.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Like you said, a lot of the same throwing motion, everything like that long release. And yeah, he like Sam Darnold right now is like everyone feels bad for him because Adam Gase is like running the show and doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But yeah, Bortles, yeah, he got a lot of shit from the media. And even in 2017, when he was putting together some really good games during that stretch we had of some streaks, he still wasn't getting credit for this play. So yeah, he had a tough time in the media for some reason. It is weird that he got trashed on more than a guy like Sam Darnold, who really isn't doing much since he's been a Jets quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they make every excuse they can for Sam Darnold, but I mean, he's throwing pick six. He looks lost out there. I don't know. There's probably a team that's going to trade for him. Like maybe the Colts try to get him or the Steelers. I don't know. Maybe a team tries to kind of, because, they're definitely in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they really believe in him, but he's got the fifth year option coming up. So I don't know what's going to happen over there with him.
Yeah, especially with Adam Gase's writing on the wall. I don't see the new GM coming in and, they might stick with him with a year, give him a chance, but everything he's done so far doesn't really point to him being a franchise guy. But, I guess is, what perspective you take. Either the team is awful and he's making it work, or he's, not pushing the team to where it's supposed to be. But yeah, I'm not that big on Sam Darnold. I wasn't that big on him coming out of USC, but a lot of people love him for whatever reason.
Yeah. And Trent asked a question: how many wins do you think the Jags get? I think that the Jaguars wind up 3-13, in my opinion.
Okay.
What do you think?
I had him at 6-10 starting, but now I'm at like 4-12. I think because I think they should have beat the Dolphins and Cincinnati, which which would have gave them that 6-10 like I predicted. But since they lost those two games, I'm going 4-12 unless something happens halfway through the year. But yeah, with that defense, 4-12.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not able to rush the passer, if you're not able to get any, like, no, you're not going to beat anybody. Like any quarter, like it's like Fitzpatrick. He went out there and had a great game, like for Miami. But the thing was, like, who wouldn't have had a great game? There's no pressure on him.
Yeah,
he wasn't doing many tough throws. He was just like delivering it out there with all the time in the world, and they were just toasting our secondary. And he just, made the throws, and like it's going to keep. We got some tough teams like Matt Stafford is probably going to throw all over us. And,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, we haven't even played the Ravens, Steelers, Browns were looking good. Like, oh my God, since we haven't been taking, like, this early part of the schedule is where we should have been feasting. But yeah, man, we're gonna get past this with a losing record, and then we're really going through the meat grinder after that.
Yeah, that's what's the scary part. I was like, this first 4 weeks was, like you said, the easier part of the schedule. The ones that I thought were going to come out 3-1, and now coming out 1-3, and we got the tough part of the schedule coming up. These good quarterbacks are just literally gonna, like, if Fitzpatrick and Tannehill and Joe Burrow just did whatever they wanted, setting up a picnic over there in the pocket, like Deshaun Watson, Stafford, Roethlisberger, all those guys are just going to absolutely torch us unless we make some sort of adjustment, whether that's firing Todd Wash. And I've been hard on Todd Wash in my channels. If anyone has been watching, like, I feel like my entire 10 videos I have out now are just bashing Todd Wash and like his awful scheme. But some of it's the players who just don't have that much talent. But a lot of it too, it's just like, to me, it's the same thing over and over again. that is beating us. The tight ends over the middle, the running backs out in the flat wide open with no one near them, the constant mismatches. And I think as long as he's there and the defense is going to continue to play this scheme that seems like everyone has figured out, it doesn't seem like we're throwing anything new out there. I think it's a long season for the Jags.
Yeah, and Charlie Boy asks, when do you think we will fire Todd Wash? I hope we do soon, because usually when a head coach and an organization gets fired, usually they fire that one guy. They fire a guy to see if that juices anything up.
Right.
And, and then after they fire him, things still suck, and then they fire everybody. So I hope they fire him soon. That's one thing about, what makes coaches great is when they're able to, change their defense to the way the NFL is trending. And he's been horrible. I mean, he's been here forever. Like, he almost has like that feel like, oh, I'm safe. Like, I've had this job forever. I'm not going anywhere. And things are getting stale. Just should have replaced him sooner. We honestly, none of these guys, Dave Caldwell, Doug Marrone, none of these guys should be here. Like, they don't hold people accountable. It seems like we somehow have a new offensive coordinator every year, but defensive coordinator never changes.
Yeah. And even after that 2017 season, with the 2018 and 2019 season, when we still had a bulk of that talent, he was still pretty bad. Like, I felt like there was so many games where it was just lapses in coverage and we just got torched. And you're like, okay, he has the talent. You can't even say he doesn't, with Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, Calais, all those guys that, crushed. And then now it's like you said, he's like as if he's safe and he just doesn't care. It's really weird. I don't know why. I think you can look at that defense and just see that you can make, like, for instance, Kayvon Chason, who we got, they're making him a pure rusher. And I think coming out of college, he's kind of like that hybrid guy. He could play some Sam linebacker. He's a stand-up pass rusher, not really a hand in the dirt type of guy. And that's all they're letting him do. So it's, are you playing to your player's strength, or are you just trying to make him fit this scheme that, even like the Seattle scheme, Seattle doesn't even do it anymore because they don't have the players to run it. So, yeah, he's just not changing at all. And in the NFL, you're going to have to constantly change because people figure you out. So I don't know what he's doing. Part of me feels like I could run that defense better, and I have no coaching experience whatsoever.
So like, to turn this into a positive note, like, what are some things that you like about this team? Like, what do you think are some positives going into, like, maybe 2021 with this team?
Oh, for sure. I think the rookies this year, the rookie class, I really like James Robinson. He's been a breath of fresh air, especially compared to Leonard Fournette, who was a 4th overall pick. I feel like these first 4 weeks, he's been a breath of fresh air. Like, he's making people miss. He's seeing the holes, and I think we need to use him more. And definitely, I think he'll be a key to this offense in the future. Laviska Shenault, I think he's going to be a really good player. He makes a lot of people miss in the open field, which I feel like Jags haven't had in a really long time. So I think those DJ Shark, obviously. So I think those offensive players give you a lot of hope going forward. If we fix this defense, then at least we got, some key pieces on offense that can put up points, which they've been doing for the first couple of weeks, just haven't translated into wins.
Yeah, James Robinson has been so much fun. I remember that first drive of the last game. Like, they handed him the ball, and then, like, he got hit in the backfield, which would have been a 3-yard loss with Leonard Fournette, but he jukes out of it. Then he goes and, like, puts a spin move on somebody, then jukes another guy out, then powers somebody forward for a first down. It's like, back when Leonard Fournette was a running back, people were saying, oh, offensive line, like, that's not his fault, like, but, it may not have been his fault, but, like, he wasn't doing anything outrageous to say, oh, wow, like, he made that on his own. But, James Robinson, he's been, like, he has everything you may need except for maybe the top end speed, the breakaway speed to be able to finish runs for touchdowns. But, just his low center of gravity, he's got excellent balance. He's got awesome vision. And, man, like, this is, it's just crazy how you go from Leonard Fournette, like, a guy that was crazy good in college, a guy, number 1 recruit, number 4 overall pick, and then you'd, like, cut him, then you go on to this little small dude, this undrafted dude, and it's somehow that much better. It's just amazing to me.
No, yeah, I honestly was really surprised when they cut Leonard Fournette. I didn't think it was that big of a deal because, like you said, like, Leonard Fournette got you what you gave him. So if he saw the hole, he'd always get 4 yards, but nothing really more. Whereas, like you said, with James Robinson, when he gets stuffed in the backfield, he makes something happen. And I think that's what separates good backs from, regular backs. And for him to be able to make people miss at the line of scrimmage and make a bad play into a positive is what's going to, really help this offense and help separate him as a starting running back. And yeah, it was definitely tough watching Leonard Fournette. And when he got cut, like, to me, it was more about the depth. I was like, who the hell do we have at running back? I didn't even watch any James Robinson. He was at Illinois State or whatever.
Yeah, FCS school.
Yeah, and I just remember I quickly put in his highlights, and he looked like he had a lot of good vision, but like that top end speed, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. But so far, for the first 4 weeks, that's looking like a really good move. And like you said, it is really surprising how you have a first round pick, and it just didn't click for him, how an undrafted free agent he's playing really well. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got, I did a preview video on a Colts YouTube channel during the first week. And I'm like, okay, so we hear this guy, James Robinson, is starting. So can you tell me a little bit about him? I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like I feel like I'm going on a Tinder date where I've seen his highlights, but I haven't seen like the downsides to him. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Anyone, like any running back, put on their highlight tape, they're going to look good.
Right.
But what, once the actual game comes on, what are they? Then it was like, wow, this guy, I think the very first game he like hurdled somebody and, he was just like shaking people. And it's like, man, this guy is pretty good. And like, I remember I got the alert that like James Robinson was, is going to be the starting running back for the Jags. And I picked him up in all my fantasy leagues. And then like, he's like a top 5 fantasy guy. So it's been pretty awesome, like having him. But yeah, I mean, I remember like when I got the news of Fournette, I was driving to work and I was like literally 2 minutes away. And I look at my phone and it's like Jaguars are releasing Leonard Fournette. And I'm just like, at that point, I was just so annoyed by the Jaguars, and I was just like so pissed off. I was like, dude, like this guy got 1,600 yards. Like, what are we doing? Like, so we have Reichel Armstead, who wasn't good last year. Like Ziegbo, like I've the name's been around, but I don't know anything about him. But then I was like, I didn't even know about James Robinson then. So I'm like, are you kidding me? But then, man, like, it's been like cutting Leonard Fournette, like one of the best moves we could have done. And, I liked having Fournette around just because I like having, because he's a high profile guy. And for a small market team like Jacksonville, I like having, bigger names in here. So there's more like familiarity with the team. But he definitely needed to go. And another thing that drives me nuts is like, I don't ever want to get like a downhill runner again, because all downhill runner is, it's like, oh, you just run straight. And if there's holes, you get there. No, I need running backs for division. I don't want to hear downhill runner anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, watching Leonard Fournette last year, like for instance, my wife, she used to watch the games with me, and she was just like, why does he keep running into the back of his O-line? Like, even she, who doesn't even watch football, was just like, what the hell is he doing? It was really frustrating a lot watching him last year. Like you said, yeah, sure, he could truck people, but he did that like once every 3 weeks when he had an opportunity to. But he wasn't giving you what you thought you were going to get out of him. So yeah, same thing when they cut him. My brother actually texted me. He's like, dude, Jags cut Leonard Fournette. And at that time, I was like, dude, what the hell are they doing? Like, what's going on over there? But after it settled in, it kind of, was starting to make sense now for sure, the way James Robinson's been playing. He's a lot more shifty, can create holes for himself. And he's been fun to watch these first 4 weeks.
And when that happened, it just seemed like such a tank move, because it's like, like they just released somebody for free who got, 1,600 yards for the Jaguars last year. The whole entire offense ran through him. He had like 95% of the snaps for the Jaguars last year. So it was like, what are we doing? But it made sense, and I'm so happy they did, because man, like, James Robinson, like he's just been awesome, man. And like that's the thing, man. This rookie class is looking really, really good. CJ Henderson's going to be great. Yeah. Clavon Chason, he's still getting his feet wet. Like I'm giving him this year to kind of develop, because playing a completely new position in the NFL, we drafted him as an undersized guy with some high upside type of thing. So hopefully he can develop. Shenault has been awesome, man. I'm excited about Shenault. I mean, they've been lining him up all over the place. He's a real offensive weapon. And, I think we just need one more receiver. Like we need one more, like a Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson type of guy, a speedster, good route runner that gets open. And then, man, like this wide receiver core could be complete.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think we are kind of missing that wide receiver too. I kind of thought D.D. Westbrook was going to be that going into this year, but I think he only played one game. I think it was
Yeah.
the Dolphins game when Shark was injured. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if we had one of that, like, piece, like a Stephon Diggs type player, would really complete this, wide receiver core for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I don't know. Like when we got D.D. Westbrook, I was hoping he was going to turn into that, like
Mhm.
like a Deshaun Jackson type, but
Yeah.
he just didn't get much better. Then I mean, when he played in the Dolphins game, I mean, he just looked so like skinny, like it looked like he hadn't been working out, and I don't know, like I'm sure he's just miserable there right now, and like he like can't wait to get out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, going from, potentially, you know, being a starter last year, a lot of, positive talk around him to not even playing at all. Yeah. He's probably just waiting to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. And big shout out to Football 503. He came over from Saw Sports. I did a live stream earlier with the Texans YouTube channel called Saw Sports. So definitely go. I had him on my preview. So if you guys haven't seen that, it was just up today. So you guys can go over there and kind of check that out. But Lean Mo says, anyone miss Calais Campbell? Yeah, I mean, if you're a Jags fan, I think unless you really don't want to win, I think you miss Calais Campbell.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, in one of my podcasts, I made a joke about trading back for him because we miss him so much. Yeah. Especially now with how that defensive line is playing, no pass rush at all from the interior line. You're just like, that was the one move to me where I understand why they did it. It almost felt like they were just giving Calais Campbell a chance to try to go out there, win a ring with the Ravens and get something out of him. But that was the one move to me where I was just like, maybe they are trying to tank or whatever. Like, why would they get rid of him? Just not only his play and how well he's been for us, but the leadership he brought. And I feel like he would have meshed in that locker room. I know they're trying to get rid of guys that didn't really fit that locker room or whatever they're saying, that culture shift that they keep throwing out there. But I definitely miss him, especially with how the defensive line has been playing this year. It's been brutal.
Yeah, and the thing is though, like they did try, like the Jaguars did try to fix the defensive line. They didn't think it was going to be this bad, but we had all these, we had Lorente McCray, guys like that opt out. Al
Yeah.
Woods opted out to like COVID, and then you had Ronnie Gunter with a heart condition, Aaron Lynch retire. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't supposed to be this bad, even though I
Right.
mean these guys aren't high. Like Al Woods actually was really good last year.
Mhm.
Rodney Gunter had a pretty good year. So I mean, they were probably thinking, oh, we'll trade away Campbell, get his salary off for books, and maybe we can get, two guys for the price of one.
Right.
But yeah, it's with that, it just hasn't been good. And of course, Augustin just mentions Taven Bryan. Yeah, Taven Bryan is disappointing because the guy gets disruption. The guy splits double teams. He has power. He just doesn't know what to do with it, man. And big disappointment.
No, that's the perfect way to put it. I feel like one of the plays that always sticks to my head when I see Taven Bryan, I don't know who we were playing. I want to say like the Dolphins or someone.
Dallas.
Maybe it was. He like busted through the line, and I think whoever it was is just like on the outside of him, and he's looking like a complete
Yeah,
idiot.
that
Just
was
like
the Dallas game. I was gonna shoot the gun before he get it because I was gonna see if that was like I think his rookie year. He was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that's like the one play that sticks out from him. Yeah, like you said, he has the physical tools, but it's just putting it all together for him. And so far, it's been underwhelming.
Yeah. And then Young Whiskey says, I keep seeing NFL analysts and other critics comparing Minshew to Ryan Fitzpatrick and doubt that he can be a franchise QB. Do you feel the same? I mean, me personally, I feel the same because I feel like with Gardner Minshew, like one thing that he showed me this year is that, and we're, I guess, going back on Gardner Minshew, one thing he
Yeah.
showed me is that like he's going to be in the NFL for a long, long time because if a guy's starting quarterback gets injured, I mean, you're going to feel comfortable with Minshew going out there, executing the game plan and doing all that stuff. But you know what I mean? Like once he just has different limitations, and you're seeing now, like week one when against the Colts, like nobody had any film of Jay Gruden calling the Jaguars offense. Nobody knew what Chenault was. Nobody knew how they were going to use James Robinson. So they kind of took him by surprise. But now you're seeing like as more film gets out on him, is like if you're a team, if you take away DJ Chark and take away the intermediate passing, I mean, that's your recipe to beating Minshew. And so far, I mean, like I said, we still have 12 more games to evaluate this guy. But as of right now, like he hasn't been able to overcome that. And if Gardner Minshew, if he can play his way into being like 7-9 and out of the quarterback sweepstakes, I mean, maybe the Jaguars keep him, but he's going to have to play his way where the Jaguars aren't in position to get a quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we talked about a little bit about it earlier, but I put him a tad level above Ryan Fitzpatrick, just because Ryan Fitzpatrick to me has never been a starting caliber quarterback. I think he's always been a backup quarterback everywhere he's went, even though he's put up some really good games. To me, Gardner Minshew, I do feel like you can win with him if you have a team built around him. He's a lot less, careless with the football like Ryan Fitzpatrick is. Like you said, I think he's going to have a career in the NFL for a really long time, even if he's not a starter going forward with us or any other team, just because coming off the bench, you do feel comfortable with him, just like you do feel comfortable with Ryan Fitzpatrick possibly winning you a game. I put him above Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, just because I think he has a lot more potential that Ryan Fitzpatrick did. But like you said, the film is kind of coming out now, what he likes to do, what his tendencies are, is that he has like a full season under him. And that's where it's starting to get a little bit of worrisome. And it's tough. You want to evaluate him correctly, but then also the defense is playing so bad that you feel like he's playing on edge a lot. Like I said, last year he came out and the games were a lot closer. So you felt like, that Minshew magic and all that stuff he brought last year, he's not really given the chance to do that this year because he's down freaking 14 points every first quarter. So it's tough to evaluate him, but there's still a lot of left in the season to see what he's got. But I put him a little bit above Ryan Fitzpatrick for now.
Yeah. A big shout out to everyone in here, man. We got 59 people in here. I've been live for 41 minutes. Thanks all for being here. Definitely drop your likes over here. And also I'll plug my guys' channel down in the live chat. So definitely go over to his channel, man. Subscribe to him. He's a new Jags channel on the block. So we always got to, support our fellow YouTubers on a platform supporting his team. But, you guys can also find me on Flick. It's kind of a channel sponsor, so you can find that in the description box down below. We're building up that. Yeah, Luke says plug the Flick. Yeah, man, we're building it up, man. I think we're at like 150 people or something in there, so it's an awesome kind of Jags forum. I got polls, quizzes, and they're going to be actually implementing some more new stuff on there, like fantasy aspects. So definitely get on the Flick app. My guy Jaguar King is all over it, as you guys all know. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So definitely go over there and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. But yeah, we got some. Kyle says Nick Foles got injured. He was a problem when he came back last year. We had bigger problems than just Foles. Yeah, but Foles, I mean, he had to come back because we paid him so much money. But man, he came back and didn't give us any spark. And Gardner Minshew kind of brought that.
Yeah,
but
Nick.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I was about to say Foles is the most confusing quarterback in the NFL to me.
Yeah, for sure. He's like the perfect backup quarterback. He comes in and somehow beats these top teams, but then whenever he's given the starting reins, like he just can't get it together. I mean, he did just beat Tom Brady that Thursday night game. But when we signed Nick Foles, I was not about it just because we gave him so much money. And what has he really shown? To deserve that money. I get it. He was a Super Bowl MVP and he did really well with the Eagles when he took over for Carson Wentz, but to throw that much money at him to be the savior for the Jaguars when we had a lot of pieces that weren't there at that time. So I don't know. Like, I just felt like with him, like you said, he is really confusing. It's like he's either looking like a guy who's going to be your starting quarterback, or he looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And I think that inconsistency is what, crushed the Jags last year, because I think he broke his collarbone on that beautiful touchdown he threw. And then when he came in to take over for, Menshu when he was healthy, he looked absolutely brutal. He looked like he couldn't even throw the ball 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. So it was tough last year with him.
Yeah, I mean, they probably rushed him back too early, but you got to think, man, like I was kind of talking about earlier when it comes to like timing, like, man, you got to think if Cam Newton was available, last season, like if he kind of pushed his career back 1 year, like you want to think, man, I would have been all on top of like trying to go out and get him. But this year, I wasn't as wanting to go out and get him just because of the Jaguar situation.
No, for sure. That's a good point. Yeah, last year if Cam Newton was in the sweepstakes for somebody that Jags could get, I would have definitely been all over that. But last year it was really, I mean, Nick Foles was really the only, I guess, viable option for Jacksonville to otherwise sticking with Bortles, which we definitely weren't going to do. So, yeah, timing is definitely key.
Yeah. And then Steve Boston says, control the clock will be the game plan. Yeah, that's one thing that stinks about with James Robinson. Like James Robinson would have so much better numbers if we were having a lead in the third quarter in like the second half, because man, like he had a good game on Sunday, but the thing was, man, like we lost in the second half, I think he had only like 1 or 2 rushes because like they give up 14 points extremely quickly, and then boom, like we were like done. So like hopefully we can find a way to get him the ball, like other than just handoffs. Like I think he should be in on more third downs just because I think he's better than Chris Thompson. And he's also good at pass protection too. So I just don't see any reason why we should take James Robinson off the field, man. I think he should be an every down back.
No, 110%. And I think he's proven that he's an every down back. He's good in pass pro. He's good out of the backfield catching it. And when I see Chris Thompson in there, sometimes I'm like, get him the hell out of here. Get James Robinson in there. And yeah, I mean, if we can control the clock, that's obviously our best way to win with this defense. If you think about when I talked about a little bit in my podcast, when we used to play Peyton Manning, it was always like control the clock, make sure he doesn't get on the field. With this defense, everybody looks like Peyton Manning. So we have to control the clock and not let this defense get on the field and get us in 14, point holes where we can't use James Robinson anymore. We have to force Menshu to, throw 40, 50 times a game. So if we can control the clock and use him, our chances only go up.
Yeah. And then Kyle asked, what do you think the bigger need is, QB or pass rusher? I think the bigger need to be successful and to win games is definitely getting a pass rush in there. However, like when you don't have a great elite quarterback, that's always going to be really the biggest need on a team. But so I guess if we're in win now mode, pass rusher. But when it comes to the long-term success of this franchise, I think probably quarterback. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, definitely always, like, no matter how good your team is, if your quarterback is handicapping you, you're always going to be, losing games you should win. For the Jaguars right now, I would say the bigger need is pass rush, just the way the seasons are playing. But for the long term, if Menshu isn't the answer, then we're going to have to fix that before we even get to the pass rush, because ultimately that's what makes successful teams, is how good your quarterback is.
Yeah. And Alex says, you think Visca and Chark can be a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin type duo? I think Visca's kind of in his own category. Like, I think he's different from all those guys. I guess you can compare Chark to Mike Evans, but, Visca's the type of guy that, he's more of like an intermediate type of route guy. He's more of a guy that you catch the ball, he's going to get you yards after contact. He's going to, break some tackles, and you can use them all over the field. He's not going to be a guy that's going on these fly routes and, beating these guys. I think that's the one thing that we're missing. But, I think, Visca's, just a solid offensive weapon. And, but I do think that we're definitely, if we can get that one more receiver, we'll be really good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with Visca, I think he's like that Percy Harvin type player. What Cordell Patterson was supposed to be, I guess, coming out of college. That intermediate, catch the ball over the middle of the field to make people miss, to make plays. Not that traditional, outside receiver, I guess. I mean, he could develop into that, but I think right now where he's at, he's more of that, like I said, intermediate screen pass catcher who can, make plays with the ball in his hands rather than, beating you on routes, at least right now.
Yeah. And Steve Boston says J-Rob needs to run a lot to keep Watson off the field. Yeah, that's one thing we've been struggling with, man. We're not able to, in the second half, run the ball to kind of sustain these leads. The Dolphins game, we were down and out very early. The Bengals game, they came out of halftime scoring 2 touchdowns, and then you're having to throw the ball all over the place. So, yeah, it's Houston's bad against the run, so maybe we can kind of put the pedal on the metal. But you got to think, man, like what are your thoughts about the Sunday's game? You think the Jaguars take care of the Texans, or you think Texans are a motivated team coming out of it?
Yeah, I think the Texans right now are just motivated. I think that happens all the time when your head coach gets fired. You get that juice, and you're ready to kick the shit out of whoever the hell you're going to play next week. So I predicted that Texans win this game. even if Bill O'Brien's there, I just think with our defense and Deshaun Watson playing us, Deshaun Watson, we haven't beat Deshaun Watson since he's been a starting quarterback with the Texans. So, and that was with when we had some pretty, solid defenses and teams. So now that, we have one of our worst rosters heading out there on Sunday, he still scares me. We can't blitz him because if we lose contain, he's out. So I think that they're going to be rejuvenated with Bill O'Brien getting out of there. They're playing at home. I mean, even though home doesn't really, matter much this year, they're still used to their field, used to that dome. So I think the Texans, as much as I want the Jags to win this game, because if we do, we're still in it a little bit in the division, but I just see Texans coming away with this one.
Yeah, and then one thing that we got to prepare our buttholes for is when you look at it, man, Tannehill ran the ball all over us, and he's not a running quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick ran the ball over us. He's not a running quarterback. Joe Burrow kind of did it too.
Yeah.
We haven't played a truly mobile quarterback yet. In 2019, the Jaguars were horrible against mobile quarterbacks. So, man, I don't know how we're going to contain him. I don't know. With this team, I look at it, and I don't know how we're going to stop any offense because we don't have, we just straight up don't have the personnel to do it. Maybe we can scheme some stuff up. Maybe Josh Allen has a good game and then Chase on kind of catches on, but it's still, the interior, I don't know who's going to step up and do anything there. So I don't know. I'm not feeling very good about it.
Yeah. With any game coming into this, the rest of the season, that defense just scares me no matter who we could be playing a third string punter at quarterback and I'd be like, I don't know about this one. So it's tough with this defense to really pick for the Jaguars as much as I want to, as much as it hurts to be like, we're going to get our asses handed to us. It's hard to pick, against the Texans.
Yeah. Well, we've been live for 51 minutes so far. We'll probably hit it to 1 hour to get that sweet hour spot. So cool. Thanks everyone for being here. Andrew Jackson says, do you think Schobert can start to dominate and cause turnovers? I hope so. I don't know. It's just tricky with him because, the linebacker spot has been the best part of the defense, especially Miles Jack. But, if you're at the front four isn't getting pressure and the secondary isn't covering well, I don't really know what the linebacker is going to do.
Yeah, that's the toughest part right now with Schobert. He looks like, I think the Schobert signing, the best part about it was we were able to move Miles Jack to the will linebacker, and he's playing lights out over there. The signing of him himself, so far, he hasn't really done much, but he also hasn't really looked awful. He's had a few missed tackles, when he completely whiffed on Ryan Fitzpatrick, just walking by him. That was come on. But I think I like the signing because it was able to, get a true Mike backer. But like you said, with this front four and with our secondary, they're in an awful position. I don't think anyone is going to look good on this defense unless they're playing at an all-pro level. Miles Jack right now is playing, I think, his best football in the last couple of years at will linebacker. So unless those guys are individually winning their matchups as a team, they're going to make these linebackers look pretty bad, I think. And obviously he's adjusting to a new scheme. He's adjusting to, the players around him now. Maybe that's part of it. He hasn't looked that good of a signing, but he also hasn't looked bad. So I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. Yeah,
and if we're going to pull up a list of Jags issues, I think Joe Schobert's probably toward the bottom of the issues. So I don't know. It's obviously the best thing Miles Jack has been playing at, a Pro Bowl level, and hopefully he stays healthy. So, it's always good to at least get a couple of Pro Bowlers in there. I know last season was pretty bad, but we were still able to get DJ Chark and Josh Allen to kind of represent. So hopefully we get a couple guys in there. And I don't know, it's kind of tough with Jaguars and accolades. You want to have James Robinson be the offensive rookie of the year, but they're probably going to give it to a quarterback or something. Yeah, so, at the very least, hopefully we get a Pro Bowl. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, definitely drop them below. But I thought some pretty funny news was that the Jaguars have signed another kicker today because Rosa's, I guess, got injured. I don't understand it, man.
Dude, what are they doing to those guys? Are they getting on them with an intense workout regime? Everyone's straightening their quads? Yeah, I don't know what's been happening, but yeah, they signed some guy. Was it John Brown? I don't even know who he was.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in the training staff over there, but yeah, that's pretty funny. Once Lambeau went down, which which it's been weird without Lambeau, because when Lambeau was in there, it's like, oh, he's going to make the kick. We're good. But I feel like every other kicker after him, it's like you're clenching your butt cheeks. Like, what's going to happen here? But it is pretty funny how everyone's just getting injured. I don't know, they're slipping on bananas in the facility or whatever.
I don't know, man, dude. It's funny because like it's only been 2 games since we haven't had Lambeau, but it feels like I've seen so many different kickers for whatever reason. And it was so funny because someone trolled Twitter today, and basically like, because, you know, they signed a new kicker today, whatever his name was. And then like 2 hours later, someone like says like he kind of tricked his Twitter account to look like the Jaguars. And it's like, this kicker just is now on the injury report with a hamstring injury, and people were like, "What? Like this guy already hurt himself?" But it was my God. And it got me for a second. I was like, "Oh, it's just like a troll," but it was like one of the greatest trolls I've ever seen.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know what's been going on in that training facility, but they're doing something to these kickers that they're keeping hit away from us.
Yeah. But I mean, the last guy, it was funny because at first I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna suck," and he comes out there. He's pretty buff. He's got like a tattoo. I'm like, I feel kind of good about this, man. I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, honestly, he was pretty jacked. I was like, "Can we try him to pass the rusher, maybe?" Because we need some help there. But yeah, honestly, after that, I mean, he missed that first kick, which I thought was a pretty dumb decision by Doug Marrone to kick a long field goal,
4th and 1 or something like that, right? And they didn't go. Yeah,
and it was like, it was in, Bengals territory, and I just thought, with a third string kicker coming off the practice squad, your offense is moving the ball pretty well. You got James Robinson, a bad rush defense. Why not take the risk there? But I think he really wanted to get off to that fast start, to make sure we're playing with some sort of a lead, and it just backfired, and he missed the kick. But after that, I mean, he looked pretty comfortable, and he was hitting kicks, so I didn't feel too uncomfortable with him going forward. But we're on to a new guy, I guess.
Yeah, and it's you actually make an interesting note about Doug Marrone on 4th down, and it's funny because literally the very first game, Chiefs versus Texans, like Andy Reid, a great head coach, goes for it on 4th down in his own territory. Literally last night, Bruce Arians on his own 20-yard line went for it on a 4th and 1 and got it. See, that's what great coaches do. They're not scared. They don't play conservative. Playing conservative lost us the AFC Championship game. Right. So, like, it's just stuff like that, like little things like that. I think, when the season's over, it's easy to kind of gloss over. But, man, like, it's stuff like that just has to change.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then sometimes he's like aggressive when you don't want him to be. Like when he went for that 2-point conversion against the Bengals. At that time, I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" But when I thought about it, it kind of makes sense the way the game is flowing. He, that defense is playing awful, and he knows that he has to get out of there without going into overtime, because if we go into overtime, there's no way that Bengals aren't just going to march down the field and score on us, especially with all those injuries that happened during that game. But last year when we played the Texans in week 2, speaking of the Texans, when we went for it with Menshu, when he had that fourth quarter comeback,
handed it out to Fournette.
Yeah, and it was that to me, it was like, okay, cool, you're being aggressive, but then it was just like head scratching, like why at that point? So yeah, I don't know. Like he's to me, he seems like he wants to be aggressive and I guess kind of have that winner mentality, but it doesn't seem like he does it at the right times. But I mean, obviously he's a head coach. We're just, talking shit over here.
Yeah, we're just yappies that think we know football, that have webcams and microphones.
Right.
But it was like, I remember later in the game, he did go for it. We were down like 14 or something like that, I think, with like 7 minutes left in the game. And I was like, watch Marrone come out here and not go for it. But he actually did. Yeah. And I was happy with it. But yeah, it was I thought it was so weird, the whole going for 2 thing. It's like, dude, at some point I'm like, dude, let's throw away the analytics and just like, let's not overthink all this stuff over here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes you just have to stick with like the old fashioned football and just kick the extra point, make sure you're still in it. And screw all that, I guess, extra math stuff to the other people. But I don't know. Yeah, he leaves a lot to be desired as a coach, and he hasn't always had the best squad, but he also, I feel like he hasn't made much better, I guess, than what he's had.
But we'll end it off with this question. Charlie Boy says, do you think the season is over for Tennessee with all that COVID going on? Yeah, it's been a scare, and like now there's games getting pushed. Like that game's on a Tuesday now, and they had to delay a Patriots game, and I think they moved one game to like a Monday or something. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit freaky. I hope, especially with all of us in our fantasy teams, we got money going on in that, and it's just, it almost seems like they got to kind of push back the playoffs a little bit, give the NFL some cushion when it comes to like, okay, if they have to push games back, they can push the season back just a little bit. But it sounds like there's not any positive cases anymore. So hopefully that just kind of puts a scare into the NFL and kind of helps them out going forward to be sure to obey protocols. But I don't know. What are all your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Titans should obey their mantra and tighten up or whatever they say.
Yeah, that's what they do.
I'm for getting rid of them completely. Just totally just eradicate them from the NFL. I think that'd be a good
feel the same. Yeah,
But
I said on Twitter, I was like, they should be punished for this. They should be, forced to like forfeit all their games. What's called leave Tennessee and be forced to change their team name and uniforms.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the best approach you could do for this. But no, but on a serious note, I think that kind of the worst part was I guess there's rumors going on that they were practicing like in private and not following any protocols during the games, during practice and things like that. So if that's the case, that's kind of like a crap move, because not only are you affecting your own team by not being able to play, you're affecting the rest of the NFL. Pittsburgh had an early bye week, and all of a sudden, I think like you said, Bills or whatever are playing on Monday or Tuesday. All these games are moving around, and I think the NFL will find a way to make it work. I think that if it gets to a point where they're going to have to either play games later on in the season, just take like a 2-week hiatus, I guess, then come back to make sure it's completely gone. But it looks like heading into this week, I don't think they had any positive tests coming out of Tennessee or anywhere else in the league. So I think the NFL season, I think they'll manage a way, to continue the NFL season despite, this, I guess, little blimp in the season.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But all right, guys, that's an hour. So thank you guys for coming over here, man.
Appreciate it.
Shout out to Jaguar King for coming on here, man.
Definitely
go subscribe to his channel. I think he's like 20 subscribers away from 100. So
nice.
Go over there, man. Support him. Go subscribe to his channel. New Jaguars YouTube run a block. So we definitely got to support the movement. You guys can also go ahead and like this live stream for me also, and go ahead and join the discussion on Flick. I got that in the description box down below and everything. But yeah, man, thanks everybody. Jaguar King, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It was honestly a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time. And go Jags.
Go Jags.